Okay, so just so that I went ahead and took some of the blue tape off of the Epson printer, and I opened the sublimation ink and I took out the black. Okay, so I'm just going to set that aside. I took out the black sublimation ink and I opened the Epson pigment ink from their 4 bottles. Because what I want to do first is I want to see whether or not I can put this nozzle onto this bottle. And if I can, our life will be just a little bit easier. So this is where the ink goes into the Epson tank. And I'm just going to kind of tip that forward for you so that you can see. And you do the inks one by one. The first one is the black, and it is all color coded. So you simply pull this back, and if you were using the Epson ink, which you are not, you would just tip this bottle upside down, and it would fit into there. There's a little crosshairs, and the ink would push through this little rubber gasket, and it would slowly empty into the tank, filling the tank completely. So we want to see, I'm just going to close that up. We want to see if we can put this nozzle onto the sublimation ink just to make our lives a little bit easier. I know there are people who will just take this ink out with a syringe and put it into the tank, and it just takes a really long time, and it is a little bit sloppy on top of it. So that is a screw cap. Take the screw cap off. This cap, it feels like it won't turn, but you just got to keep doing it. Hold it nice and steady. Don't get ink all over the inside if you can avoid it. And it will come off. Okay, so that is off. Here's what it looks like. It's pretty clean. Here's the special nozzle. And I'm just going to kind of show you how it fits. See, it just fits in there very nicely. Okay, when you're ready to do it, you push it down and the ink just leaves the bottle and goes into the tank. Okay, and it's a very special fit. What we want to see is whether or not it'll fit this bottle. And it's looking like it probably will not. Well, they do have a little bit of a rubber thing on there. And this looks pretty clean. So I'm just going to see. It's not that big of a deal. It doesn't fit, okay? But, so there are 2 things you can do. You can like get a disposable cup, put all of this Epson ink into the disposable cup, wash this out completely, air dry it, like really let it dry for a couple of hours, make sure there's not a drop of water in there. Once it's dry, pour this ink into that bottle, tighten it up, and put it in there, right? You can do that. And then, you know, if you wanted to save the Epson ink, maybe you've got a printer for home use, you can save that, and it will just be in the sublimation bottle. But what I'm going to try to do, see if it'll work, is I'm going to just put this nozzle in here. I'm going to level the printer right now. I've got it tipping forward so that you can see it. So right now it's like on its end. Then I'm going to take that away so that it's perfectly flat. Okay, now it's flat. I've got this in. I'm going to move this aside so that I don't spill it everywhere. And I'm just going to see if I can, will this go in? It is going in. You can kind of see it filling the black. Now, because I'm squeezing it, I wouldn't really try to use this too soon because I can only imagine that there might be an air bubble in it. But we'll find out, because in our next videos, we're going to actually plug this in and get it going and print some test prints. And I'm just going to fill it to the top there, because this has more ink than the Epson ink. So the Epson ink bottles are 65 ml. The Sublimation ink that I bought is 100 ml. So I don't want to overfill it. All right. And I would say just, I'll put the styrofoam down. I'm going to take this out. And I'm just going to put that aside. And I'm going to close it up. Okay, that's done. I'm going to wipe off all of these bottles, wipe off the nozzle. The black is filled. It looks like I got a good amount in here. Nearly half at least. And then I'm going to continue that with the rest of the colors. So remember, you can totally empty this bottle if you want to. Totally empty the Epson bottle, wash it all out, pour the sub ink in there, that's fine. But you can also just kind of use the appropriate colored cap as a funnel, just like we did. Take it off there. Make sure it's clean on the inside. This one was very clean. If the others are not clean, I will wash them off and make sure that there's no ink inside of them. Just set it in there as a funnel. I'm just going to tip this a little now that I have ink in it. It's serving as a funnel. Drop your ink in, squeeze it in until you see it come to the top. Okay, use this little window to tell you when to stop. Be very cautious not to overfill it. Like I said, the ink that I bought is 100 mils, and the Epson bottle that they sent me was 65 mils. So you don't want to overfill this tank. All right. So that's it for this video. I am going to go ahead and put all of the inks in just like I showed you with the black. I'll take this guy out. Make sure you don't do this on anything that you really love because chances are you're going to get ink somewhere. Like this is just styrofoam that I had from an empty box, so I don't really care if ink gets on it, but it's very likely that you're going to get ink on something. So I closed up the black. The next one I'm going to do is the yellow, and then I'm going to do the magenta, and then I'm going to do the cyan, which is blue. Okay, always go in order and just fill to the top. Okay, do not overfill it. Okay, as you can see, we have every color filled, not overfilled, but filled just to the top of those little windows there. And I just wanted to mention again, I'll take the yellow Epson. This is the Epson ink that came with it. It's still full. The lid is not on it, so I have to be very careful. But this is 65 mils, and my sublimation ink was 100 mils, and I have this much left. See, I did not like overfill it. So just fill it to the top of the windows, okay? And you'll notice that you fill it once, it'll kind of settle, and maybe even tomorrow when I come back, it'll be just a little bit lower, but that'll be okay. You just don't want to overfill it. It's far better to underfill it and come back in a couple of hours and refill it than it is to overfill it. Okay, so these are the sublimation inks. They're all have about the same amount left in them. Can't really see through those bottles. These are the caps. Now I'm going to rinse them off, put them back on the Epson bottles. And I'm only doing that because I can use this ink. If I had absolutely no use for that ink, I might just toss it and put the sublimation ink in those bottles after a thorough cleaning and a thorough drying. That way, you know, my sub ink was just in the Epson bottles, but I can use that for one of my printers. I just can't use it yet. So that was the funnel method, using each color as a funnel, putting it into the top and just pouring the sub ink in little by little, squeezing it gently. You're squeezing it very, very gently. You're not trying to, like, you know, whiz it in there or anything, just a very gentle squeezing and releasing. It's going to bubble inside of this. It shouldn't bubble too badly inside of here, but still, you want to just kind of tap it. And tomorrow we're going to start this all up. Hopefully after several hours of sitting, there will be absolutely no problems with bubbles in the line. Okay, so that's going to be our next video. We're going to plug this in, and we're going to do some test printing, and we're going to set up the best mode for the paper that we are going to use. Okay, we're going to pick our paper options. Okay, all right, see you in the next video.